sandwiches, ice cream, coffee and snacks, and many other pleasing treats. Our foods are fresh and tasty, our drinks satisfying and refreshing. They're so good.
Welcome to Average Joe's Drive-In.
And now, on with the show.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode number 91 of Average Joe's Drive-In. It's Horrorthon month, and what that means, horror movies, or horror and movies. It's a combination of horror and movies. So yeah,
as long as the horror is contained in the movie, I don't want horror in real life.
Well, no, does Monsters Incorporated technically count as a horror? And this is a question I had the other day, but that's neither here nor there. We could talk about that later. So with me is my good friend Erik Marner from the Movie Freaks podcast, joining me to talk about Horrorthon month and what he's been up to. And I know he's been, if you've been keeping up with the Movie Freaks, which you should be. If you're not, I'm telling you right now, if you listen to my show, you definitely would love the Movie Freaks. I know it's one of my favorite podcasts. You've been hearing how much, like, Erik's just been kicking ass. He's putting me right to shame with his movie watching this month. So Erik, how you been, man?
I am good, and I am just up to my tits in horror right now. It is true, but in all fairness, like, you and Eugene watch horror all year round, and I just kind of stockpile it until October and then go nuts. So, yeah, it's been going good. I am, I've watched a lot of horror movies this month, and I'm not done yet. I still got a few days left.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I watch horror all year round, but I don't go anywhere near as bonkers as I normally do in October. So I have a tendency sometimes. I love horror. It's by far my favorite genre, and I probably watch more horror movies than any other genre. But I'm not the type of person that can just watch one genre. I watch whatever I'm in the mood for. And usually when I'm in the mood for something like that genre, I just go on like a tear for a week or two on that. Then I'll go to something else. Or sometimes I just bounce around. But more often than not, when I get on something, that's pretty much all I want to watch. So,
right.
I don't know about you, but usually, even during October, dude, as much as I love horror, after a couple, 2 or 3 weeks, most years, I'm like, I'm ready to start watching something else and break stuff up. But I hate to break anything up in October because I don't want to watch anything that's not horror related.
Right. And in the past, that has been true for me too. And this year, it's been different because I don't not watch horror throughout the year. There are still horror movies that I watch throughout the year. But there are ones that I'm like, oh, I want to see that, but I'll save it for October. And this year I had so many that it was like, I probably had 120 movies that I was planning on watching. And it's like, there's no way in the world I'm going to get through that many. So, the vast majority, I think I've only rewatched one movie? Nope. I cheated a little bit because Blade and Blade 2 counted as horror movies.
Yeah.
So Comic Book Dork took a little bit of a breather with those movies. But other than that, it's all been movies I've never seen before. So that's made it a lot easier, actually, to, keep going with the horror genre.
Yeah, I agree. I kind of did the same thing. This year, my goal was to mainly watch stuff I had either only seen once or had never seen. And I think my original list, there was 57 movies on my original list that I had of stuff I was going to try to get to. But stuff has popped up on Netflix, stuff has popped up on Amazon Prime, stuff like that. So I've watched a lot of stuff that wasn't originally on my list for this month, but a lot of it is still stuff that I had never seen before. So I've done pretty well overall, there was a bunch of movies, like I said, that I had only seen once that I wanted to revisit. But besides like regular watches, like say like a movie like House on Haunted Hill, which I just watched the other day, which I've seen numerous times, and Turbo Kid and a couple others, there's really not been a lot of movies that have been like constant viewings for me that something I throw in on a regular basis anyway.
Yeah. Well, and Netflix has been kind of bitchy this year. Usually in October, they'll throw a bunch of horror movies, but instead they were screwing up everybody's horrorthon by going, oh, you want horror? Well, here's this Haunting of Hill House or whatever, a whole TV series, which is going to suck up all of your time. God. And then they just dropped Castlevania Season 2. And I'm like, I'm dying to watch this shit, but I gotta wait.
I can't wait to watch Season 2 of Castlevania. I binged the whole thing in one day because it's so short anyway, but I think it was 4 episodes was the first season or whatever.
Yeah, I actually started it over. I want to watch it again. I haven't even
checked to see how long this new one is, if it's still 4 episodes.
It's 8.
Ooh,
it's twice as long.
So it will take me 4 hours to watch it instead of 2. I don't even think it was 4 hours. I think they were only like 20-minute episodes, if I remember right, too. It was very short.
Yeah.
Awesome. Loved it.
Yep. Me too.
So I'm going to get to that, yeah. And I still haven't checked out The Haunting of Hill House, because I literally, other than like the few, like my Bruins games or like Patriots games or whatever, I don't really watch any TV during October. I don't watch a lot of TV anyway, but I really don't watch any TV during October because it's like every time I have a few minutes, it's like, I'm going to watch a movie. I want to watch a movie. So.
Yeah, same here. I'm a cord cutter, so any of the games that it's streaming for me. And I only sports I care about are NFL and, some hockey here and there. When I can. But, most of the time it's movies or Netflix TV shows, original kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah. I hear you. I find myself, I stopped with the TV shows in the most part because, one, it just is too much of a time suck for me for the limited amount of time I have to watch movies most of the time. And I'm very impatient, so I don't like watching network TV. If I do watch shows, it's usually when they drop on Netflix or Amazon Prime or whatever, because I want to be able to watch them with no commercials, and I want to be able to just binge the shit out of them when I have a chance to get a season done, and,
Dude, I hate commercials so much that I literally threw free cable out of my house. And that was 15 years ago at least. Yeah. Forget that. I hate it. But the only thing I miss is my football. I like football a lot, so I want to watch that. But, what was I going to say? I was going to ask you something. I totally forgot. Yeah, most of the time for me, it's just movies. When I did that, or when I did cut the cable, I said, you know what? I'm going to, instead of paying whatever, it was even the minimum package of like $20 a month, I'm going to take that $20 and every week, I'm just going to kind of buy at least one movie. You can get away with that, especially at exchange stores. And I kept up that pace to the point where, well, now I could watch a different movie every single day for 2,700 days. And you're never going to get bored. Eventually, you come back around because you rewatch shit. And I don't have to worry about being entertained. Now I got Netflix. Give me a freaking and my kids complain about Netflix. Oh my God, TJ. There's nothing on. There's nothing
you
to
don't
watch.
Give them
I'm like,
when I was your age, we had to walk uphill both ways to the video store during snowstorms to hope that there was one copy of Firefox or whatever,
just to hope that one copy of Mac and Me came back so I could have some science fiction, damn it.
And if it wasn't, then you had to try to find something else, and, and that's when I discovered Showdown in Little Tokyo, and, or whatever.
Exactly.
The struggles, man, the struggles.
Hey, speaking of Castlevania, though, and like animated stuff that counts as horror, and we'll get into what counts as horror. I want to talk about that in a little bit, too.
Okay.
But have you seen the animated movie Dante's Inferno?
I have not. I've heard you talk about it on your show before, I believe.
I would like you to get the Blu-ray of that at some point, sir. And I think I can almost guarantee that you will not dislike that movie. For people that are looking for actual real translation of Dante's Inferno, this is probably not it. I haven't actually read that book, so no, this was actually, they made a video game about Dante's Inferno some years back, and then they made an anime movie about it, and it's kind of like a ridiculous version of it, just crazy anime version of that story, his trip into hell. And it is, without a doubt, one of the most horrorist animes I've ever seen. Like, I mean, it is just so oppressively violent and gory and just evil Satan demon shit. And every time I watch it, I'm like, this is so badass. I mean, just so badass.
I will have to try to track that down, because I've actually, there's been, not to get too diverted from horror stuff, but there's been a few animes that I haven't seen in years that I really, really want to revisit. Like, I have a VHS copy of the Ninja Scroll, which I absolutely love the Ninja Scroll. There's also one I have called Dangayo that's really good. And one is called Bao that's really good. I have a recorded copy of Akira somewhere that I taped off in HBO or something back in the day. I'd like to rewatch that. And there's a few others. So I get in the that's a weird genre with me. I don't get in the mood very often, but when I do, I'll watch a bunch of stuff, and then I won't touch it again for 5 years. So
right.
It's just how it goes with me there. I appreciate it, but I got to be in the right frame of mind for it.
Well, that's not for everybody. I echo your love of Ninja Scroll. That was one of the first adult animated things that I had seen, and I was like, holy shit, you can do this? There's nudity and people's getting heads cut off, and I'm like, this is insane.
I hadn't watched a lot of anime when I bought that. I actually got it at a salvage store on, back in the day when I was in high school, I think, middle school, high school, and I think it was 50 cents. I picked up a copy. I picked up New Dominion Tank Police and all these friggin' anime, because Sci-Fi Channel back in the day used to have Saturday morning anime.
Yep.
So I used to watch that all the time when Sci-Fi Channel first come on. And that kind of got me into a lot of that stuff. That's where I saw Ghost in the Shell and Record of Lotus War and all that stuff. And so
I watched a lot on, what was it? Toonami had the late night thing where they would start at midnight and go till 4:30 or something like that.
Yeah, and
so that's how I got, and Akira is my favorite movie of all time. And I'm so disappointed now that I got rid of my Ninja Scroll VHS and my Akira VHS. I would just kill to have those back, even though that I own both on DVD and Blu-ray and multiple copies that I'll never get rid of. But if I ever see them, I'll definitely snatch them up. But, I love anime, but at the same time, I'm not as big into the episodic television version of it. And that's the bulk of anime. I like the movies. Give me the movies.
The one-off, the stuff, and most of those, the ones that I've watched, aren't, insanely long. Most of them are, just barely over an hour, right around an hour. So it works out perfect. They're good, quick. They're good and quick to throw on, You're not having, a 2-hour time commitment every time you throw one on, necessarily, anyway. So
it does speak to our programming as a society a little bit, that we're shocked by adult content in an animation thing. It's because maybe it's just an American thing. We grew up on Looney Tunes and shit, and then all of a sudden to see nudity and extreme violence and gore, it's just I don't know, maybe it's just me because I grew up in Amish country, but every time I saw it, I was just like, oh my god, I can't, did somebody get arrested for we should be more shocked by realistic gore, not just some silly drawings.
That doesn't affect me, and it was weird because, I haven't reviewed it for the show yet, but I finally watched The Exorcist the other day. And I posted on the horror group that we're a part of about that, and it brought up kind of an interesting discussion. For those of you who don't know, I had never actually seen all of The Exorcist. I had seen bits and pieces over the years, but I had never seen the whole thing. And so this year, because I was watching movies that I had never seen, and I was also trying to watch some stuff that was considered classics, that it's any horror fan should actually see some of these, should watch these at least once, type films. And I watched it, and while I thought it was a great movie, and it was just well made. The acting was awesome. The effects were pretty good for the most part and everything. But man, that movie didn't even remotely disturb me or bother me or anything at all.
Really?
Nothing. Nada. Nothing. I don't know, man. I appreciate that movie. I think I gave it like an 8 out of 10 as far as like it's just a really well-made movie, and it's creepy and it's slow. It's a slow burn, but it's more about Father, not Mc, I want to say Father McFeely.
Oh no!
I'm thinking of Scary Movie, not The Exorcist. But that character, anyway, yeah, he, it's more about like his journey and all that he's going through and stuff, as much as it is about Linda Blair's character. But yeah, I don't know. It's just weird. And like, I got thinking about that. I'm like, and I'm not a deeply religious person, so I don't know if that might have something to do with why I'm just like, It doesn't have quite that same effect, or the time period, or the fact that I watch some really, really extreme stuff from time to time. So,
well, I think if you have a deeply religious background, that can affect it. But I also think that that's connected very specifically to Catholicism.
Yeah.
Because I have a deeply religious childhood growing up and everything, but we weren't Catholics. So, I mean, when I finally got around to watching it, and I came to horror late, I didn't start watching horror movies till I was 18. Through Eugene, of course.
Yeah.
But
that damn Eugene, he's a corrupt.
No, not at all. When I finally did get around to The Exorcist, it had some, like, for me, it had some parts that were disturbing, but it was more because I felt like they were just trying to shock the audience than it was, genuinely disturbing. Like, I don't know, it affects him more than it does me. It is a checklist must-see horror film, and I've watched it a couple of times, and I seem to teeter-totter. Every other time I watch it, it bothers me. Then the next time I watch it, I'm like, green vomit, whatever. So I think you can go either way with having that religious background, but maybe it's a Catholic thing. Maybe?
Yeah,
I don't know.
It could be, because, I mean, I went, to church and stuff until I was a teenager, and but it's still, it's just, I don't even think, this is the beautiful thing about horror, and why I love horror so much. Something that affects you deeply may not affect me deeply, but something that affects me deeply may not even remotely, affect you. There's so many different things that bother people or get under their skin or whatever, which is, I think, more so than maybe any other genre. I mean, like action films generally pretty much are, there doesn't seem to be much, much variance in what people feel like on those action films. The ones that are universally loved are universally loved. The ones that aren't, generally, for the most part, I think. Comedy is the same way. I think maybe sci-fi and horror are a couple of the only genres where one person is like, this is the greatest film I have ever seen, and somebody else is like, this is shit. I thought Eugene's head was going to explode when I reviewed Sleepaway Camp the other day, because...
Well, I might be on Eugene's side on that one, sir, but to each his own. Honestly, though, I agree with the essence of what you're saying. I think the most divisive genre is comedy, because something I think, a stand-up comic I think is hilarious, somebody else is like, I didn't laugh one time, and I'm like, what are you talking about? I almost pissed my pants. So... Same with movies. People are like, oh, White Chicks, that movie is so funny. And I'm like, you are everything that is wrong with society.
I kind of agree with you there on that. Yeah.
But right underneath comedy would be horror, because some people are just not freaked out by the shit that freaks me out. And I don't understand that. A good example would be, Blair Witch. The most recent one, Blair Witch 3, the one that, was a year or two ago.
Like 4 years ago now, but
whatever. Time is relative, dude.
Yeah.
It was right after a Horrorthon. It was November. I went to the Dollar Theater because I enjoy that series more than most. I want to check it out.
Yeah.
Went and watched it at the Dollar Theater. Scared the fucking shit out of me. Absolutely scared the hell out of me. But I'm bought into that series, so whatever. It affects me. It works on me.
Right.
Whatever. So after that, I went on the internet, which is a dumb thing to do. Automatically stupid to go see, hey, I wonder what everybody else thinks about this movie.
Everybody hates
it. I could not believe the amount of people that said it wasn't scary. Like, that absolutely terrified the shit out of me.
Yeah,
but then everybody has that reaction to Exorcist, and I don't necessarily. I will say I wanted to get this thought in about The Exorcist. That movie did have a little more weight to me when I went and watched The Ninth Configuration. This was a movie that somebody randomly sent to me, a friend of mine on the internet. He was just like, you need to see this movie. I want you to see it so bad that I'm just going to send you a copy. Now it's an out-of-print DVD and blah, 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 blah. But I had never heard of it, and Friedkin is involved in some capacity. I don't know if he wrote it or whatever, but it has a connection with The Exorcist in that there's a dinner party scene at The Exorcist with an astronaut, I believe, and the astronaut winds up in this insane asylum or whatever. The Ninth Configuration is about an insane asylum in, Germany.
Okay.
It's a fantastic movie. I would not classify it as a horror movie, but it is a fantastic movie. I think it's in my top 10 of all time. I adore that movie. It is fucking fantastic.
I never even heard of it.
So. Most people haven't, and it's a shame. That's why I talk about it so much, because I want more people to go watch this damn movie. I think it's on Blu-ray now. Awesome, awesome, awesome movie. You should definitely check it out. Actually, what's his name passed away a week ago, and he is one of the main stars of it. The guy from The Walking Dead.
Oh, Scott Wilson.
Yes, he is one of the main stars of it.
Nice. No.
Fantastic movie. You should absolutely track it down. But the religious stuff that they talk about in that movie gave more weight to The Exorcist for me. And I think, I hate to be misquoting, but I think it was Friedkin who said he felt like Ninth Configuration was a spiritual successor to The Exorcist for him. So maybe track that one down, give it a watch, and then rewatch Exorcist, see if it affects you more. I don't know.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see. Because like I said, I thought it was a great movie as far as just it was such a well done film, and it was just the pacing was deliberately slow, but that's what kind of gave it the whole feel. And the ending, I still thought, while it didn't affect me from a horror standpoint, I still thought it was a fairly powerful movie for what it was conveying and, all that.
I agree.
I can appreciate a lot of movies that don't scare me generally if they're, that are good. I can appreciate them for other things, even if they don't scare me for horror, that's one of those things. I don't know if there's really, honestly, a lot of horror movies that really, freak me out anyway at this point in my life. I've seen so... Yeah. I mean, they'll be I'll get caught up in a jump scare or something here and there, but as far as just, freaking me out weird, most of the time, dude, when I get like that with films, it doesn't even, a lot of times it's not even horror movies that give me the willies. It's like something in a sci-fi film or, there was and I hate to admit this because you'll probably laugh your ass off, but one of the movies that freaked me out so bad when I first watched it was the movie Signs, okay? The M. Night Shyamalan films.
Oh, I like that movie. That had some real decent jump scares in it.
Not jump scares, it legit, freaked me out, gave me the willies. I watched it during a blizzard, and this was when I had first got my DVD player, and the DVD thing was new, and I had my giant 36-inch, 800-pound Panasonic TV, and my surround sound and everything. And I had just got a good theater type, good home entertainment setup, and I watched Signs during a blizzard, and it was just I live in a little town. There's not a lot going on. In my apartment that I had, there's all kinds of buildings around me, but there was also like all these fields, and like you look out, it's just snowing and everything is just dark and desolate looking. And I was watching that movie, and dude, it freaked me out so bad. And it's still to this day one of my favorite Shyamalan films. So, but yeah, and couple other movies that always freaked me out was like, you're going to see a theme here, was Fire in the Sky, which that movie just,
yeah, me too. That's awful.
Was another one that freaked me out. Like, really, that one scene, and spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't seen it, but that scene with the cop car when it pulls up to the house, and you hear.
I have not seen that movie since the theater, and I remember that scene.
That scene just like made the hair on my arm stand up. I was just like, like, and it's weird, but I watched like Fulci films like Gates of Hell and stuff like that, and some of this, just like super, super fucking gory shit. And I'm just like, oh, that's pretty cool. Doesn't freak me out in the least bit, but it's weird things like that's why I love horror, because there's all this there's stuff that, like I said, it affects one person differently than another. And there can be like such varying opinions on a film from one person to the next. And, like you said, maybe comedies. I think sci-fi's like that in a lot of ways too, but I think sci-fi nerds look at you.
Well, hey, sci-fi is probably my favorite genre of film.
Oh, it's my second.
When I see people being divisive about about sci-fi movies, I'm like, well, that's not a sci-fi guy. If you're a sci-fi guy, you'd be into that. Because some people have you're right, they have extreme opinions about sci-fi, but
yeah,
that's just angering the nerd populace. And
the sci-fi, it never seems like you don't get a lot of middle of the road usually with sci-fi. At least I don't see it that way. Usually it's like one extreme or the other. It's like, this was the greatest movie I've ever seen, and there's never been anything. This movie sucked. There was 483 different continuity errors that I picked out during this film. And you get, it just seems to be like that. There's no middle ground. At least with horror, at least from what I've seen, is even if somebody doesn't like completely love it or appreciate it, a lot of times there's a little bit more middle ground, I think, with people being able to meet in the middle. I mean, in good spirited debate.
I don't know if I agree with that, because here's the thing. With sci-fi, it usually is science fiction, takes place in the future or deals with things that do not exist. So, maybe it is a little easier to find common ground, in my opinion, whereas with horror movies, they can take place in any time and place. For example, context plays a big part of when you watch these movies. Sleepaway Camp.
Yeah.
Nobody ever told me the secret of Sleepaway Camp.
And we're not going to spoil that for anybody.
No. The first time I watched that movie, I was in my apartment, in my living room, by myself. And I had never even heard of the movie. And Eugene is like, you should watch this. And I'm like, well, he's the horror guru. He tells me what to, I'm doing my horror genre education. I've watched all the other genres. I'm a movie freak of those. But let me check this out. And for most of the movie, I'm just like, I never had I felt a twist of fear. I was just like, oh, it's a slasher. He's shown me slashers before. I'm like, okay.
Fear, but I sure felt some uncomfortable twinges of being creeped out at the really weird, perverted, weird
extreme
tones going on in it.
Extreme sexual overtones of just bizarre, but I was like, all right. And I don't know. It's got some stuff that I'm like, okay, maybe it's a dark comedy because the dialogue is so weird and bad and they're, oh, fuck you, Ricky, or whatever. It's just odd timed things. I'm like,
I'll kill you. You don't want to do it, I'll kill you,
Yeah. And then the aunt pops in every now and then and she's like, all right, we're going to go do this now. And I'm like,
that won't do
what?
It all. That won't
all
do
right.
it. Will not.
I'm not kidding, dude. I don't know how long that movie is. Let's say it's 90 minutes. For 85 minutes of that movie, I'm going, I'm not really sure why he wanted me to watch this movie. And then we got to that scene at the end, and I was all by myself in my living room on probably a 27-inch big fat TV. And that happened. Dude, I slept 2 hours that night. That fucked me up in the head. Like, I was like, this is I literally was this is the time before cell phones were prominent. I literally called and left a message, I think, on his machine, like, fuck you, you asshole, for making me watch this shit. I can't sleep. I'm horrified. I had goosebumps over my entire body. Like, it freaked me the hell out. So, but that being said, if I had watched it the way that you had, going in knowing what was going to happen, it probably wouldn't have had an effect on me at all.
Honestly, that would have really affected me a lot more if I hadn't known about it. But that was one of those films. It's just, if you run in horror circles, it's a pretty hard one to not have spoiled for you at some point.
Yeah.
So, you know, and it's, again, like I said, this year was about watching stuff I hadn't seen, you know, so that one popped up on Amazon Prime, and I was like, dude, I really want to check this one out, because it's one of those films that it always seems to be like either people really like it or they just don't like it. I haven't seen a lot of middle ground with that movie. I
don't disagree, but it's also like Pieces. Pieces kind of falls in that category too. It's not about a cliffhanger ending, but the movie's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
But it's an awesome piece of shit. Like, it's so much fun to watch. And don't be surprised if a couple of watches down the road of those movies, you turn your opinion around on them. Because you see, I see where the enjoyment's coming from.
It happens. See, Eugene's learned this because Eugene beats himself over the head with a film until he beats it into submission and likes it. So.
Well, the problem, his problem
Love you,
is
Eugene.
No, his problem is that he loves horror so much, and it just is not. I legit feel bad for him, because there is just not enough of the genre that he adores. Not enough of it comes out. Not enough quality versions of it come out to keep him going. And that it does bum me out sometimes, because he's watching these movies and I'm like, dude, why do you do this to yourself? But he loves horror so much.
This is my 37th viewing, and I'm finally coming around.
I can't fault him on that though.
No, I don't.
God knows I've watched, dude. If you want seriously, if you went into my collection right now, I'm a sci-fi guy. You went into my collection right now and pulled out some of the sci-fi movies that I have that I will moderately defend, but because about the 5th or 7th time I watched it, I kind of enjoyed.
I like the pretty dodgy sci-fi guy, so you know.
Mine is a vault of embarrassing shit.
No, and I get it. Eugene, we love you, dude. We're just kidding. I totally get it, though, because I have those films, dude, that I absolutely adore for horror films that I know are garbage, but there's just something about them. I may associate them with like a certain time period or people that I watched them with even sometimes, and it just gives me the warm fuzzies. And it's when I see this dude get his head getting a drill through his head and vomiting, raining maggots, it's just warms my heart. It's just because I associate it with certain people and like good memories of hanging out with those people, and
sure,
not to mention I think they're cool effects and they look awesome and they're creepy and weird and but
hey, shout out to Horror Fan, because every week on the Facebook page I change the banner to some movie that we talked about for a while. And this last Horrorthon episode, I randomly changed it to a movie we've talked about probably 17 times. Friday the 13th, 5? Whichever.
Roy Jason. I just rewatched that the other day because it was AMC is having their month of fear. They've been playing blocks of like different franchises. And I happened to wake up at 3:30 in the morning and I'm like, I don't have to be anywhere for like another 2.5 or 3 hours. So I come downstairs and I had breakfast and I'm flipping through the channels and I'm like, Friday the 13th, part 5 and 6 it is. So I said, even though I have both on Blu-ray in the next room, it's like, I'm not getting off the couch. I'm just going to watch these with commercials, and I don't care because it's 3:30 in the morning.
I could equally make the argument that is an indefensible piece of shit movie, but yet it got more traffic from horror fans liking and thumbs up and comments than any of my banners. Most of the time, nothing. But this one, I posted a picture of a guy in a shitter in the outhouse.
Baby,
everybody.
Baby. Ooh, baby.
Y'all horror fans are crazy. That's all I know.
You're gonna get it now, bitch.
I'm gonna watch that movie.
I will agree with Eugene on this one, though, about part 5, because part 5 has always been on the lower end of the films for me. Like, it was just, like, I thought it had some of the better kills in the series, but it was also, like, just, it was so random. It's like, what the fuck is going on? And so,
the last time I watched that movie, I rented it from the VHS store that Eugene worked at. And even when I did my last Friday the 13th marathon, I skipped that one because it has the Roy Jason, and I was like, fuck that movie. But we can both agree there are at least, 2 or 3 that are below that? Jason X would be below that?
Yeah,
and
Jason
Manhattan?
Manhattan, and probably Jason Goes to Hell.
No, not for me.
Now Jason Goes to Hell is another one that I really need to rewatch again sometime soon, because but what I was getting to with part 5 before I forget, was part 5 was one of my least watched up until recently, like the last couple of years. I have rewatched that like 3 times, I think, maybe in like the last year and a half. And as Eugene would say, every time I watch it, it gets a little bit higher on that list. I enjoy it a little bit more because it's so fucking bonkers. That's why I like it. It just, I can appreciate the weirdness of it. I'm a fan of Italian horror too, though, so I kind of get that weird vibe, because a lot of the Italian horror just has that odd vibe. And speaking of weird vibes, I forget, have you seen Mom and Dad yet with Nick Cage and Selma Blair? Oh, dude, you need to watch that, because it reminds me of like a late 70s, early 80s Italian film, except with like good Rage Cage.
Yes. Well, Eugene will get it, and I'll borrow it from him.
It's I bought it from Redbox for like $4. You know, it was like, or $3 or whatever it was. It wasn't very much. So I picked it up because I had heard good things, and I'm dying to see Mandy. And Mandy is coming on Shudder in the next few days. So I'm hoping maybe I can get that in on Halloween.
I've been trying to watch it on Eugene's Vudu, but I've been having streaming problems with his Vudu. I got like 30 minutes into it, and so far, I'm in. This is good Cage.
I still haven't got to Hereditary yet. That was one I had planned to watch. I just picked up the Blu-ray of Christine the other day, which I haven't seen in quite a while, which I need to throw that. My problem is I'm running out of days for the Horrorthon. Like, I'm trying to, like, right now it's at the point, it's like, do I just want to watch a couple of my favorites because it's that time, or do I want to take a chance on some stuff? Or, because usually what happens, and it's gonna happen this year, because I have a backlog of non-horror related stuff that I have not watched because I've been holding off. And, like Solo, some stuff like that I just haven't watched because I have been waiting. I've just been watching all horror this month. So while I can honestly say this year I'm not even remotely burned out though on horror. I could probably keep going for another couple weeks if I really, really, really wanted to. But the problem is most years during the Horrorthon, while I love horror, I usually burn myself out really bad, and then I don't watch anything horror related for like 2 or 3 months generally.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do that this year because I just assume, still be able to throw some horror on here and there and not feel like, that weird, like, it's a chore.
Yeah.
Even though it's not, even though I love it, but it's just, so I'm I think I might take a break for a week or two and catch up on some stuff, and then I'll catch up to some of the stuff I didn't get to.
Oh, I have piles of non-horror stuff that I'm just drooling to get onto, and friggin' Netflix is adding lots of awesome non-horror stuff, like, come on, screw up your Horrorthon.
There's a bunch of stuff on Netflix. I picked up some blues a while back that were on sale, like Atomic Blonde, which I haven't seen yet, and a bunch of stuff like that that I have been really wanting to get to, but I just, it's like, no, it come right in right before the Horrorthon started, so it's just
Atomic Blonde, I liked it, Eugene did not. I think that's kind of a love it or hate it kind of movie.
I'll be interested. I've kind of heard mixed things about it.
I kind of liked it. Solo, go into that with the mindset of, I'm not going to actually review this movie until the second time I watch it. Because the first time I watched it and the second time I watched it, I came up with very different reviews. And I really enjoyed it the second time around. The first time around, I don't know. With all the snafus of what was going on behind the scenes, I was geared to looking for problems.
Yeah.
Hereditary. Did you listen to my review of Hereditary?
I just listened to your review of that today. On my way, I listened to that on my way to and from work today. So yeah.
It was a vague review, but I would be very curious to see if, cause we both, when I read your reviews, I can see the writer, wheels spinning.
Yeah.
And I wonder if we wouldn't agree on that movie. But I'm very interested to see what you have to say about that.
Yeah. Like I said, whether or not I even watch it during the Horrorthon, I'm going to probably get to that one in the next couple weeks because I have been dying to see it. It's longer. One thing this year, which isn't something I have done in the past, but I've really been mindful of run times when I've been watching stuff this year because I haven't been in the mood for longer stuff. So things have popped up, that it's like, ooh, this is an hour and 15. This is an hour and 20. I'm going to watch this instead of this 2-hour movie because I can watch 2 movies now instead of 1, you know?
Yep.
That sort of thing. And I don't usually do that. It's just like, I'm going to watch this. I'm going to watch this, whatever. This year, it's just like I've been in the mood for that just down and dirty, quick stuff. And that's what I've been in the mood for. And that's like a lot of the stuff I didn't get to on my list this year. The reason I didn't get to it is because it's like in that hour 45 to like 2-hour 15 range. And it's just like, yeah, I'll hold off on that one. You know, so.
I totally understand. And I did that a lot last year. This year I've been a little bit more flexible, but my goal was a little different. My goal was 2 a day.
Yeah.
So as long as and I didn't even really necessarily accomplish that. It was just I would catch up a lot on the weekends.
Yeah.
And now with 2 days left in the Horrorthon, I'm not going to reveal what my number is, but I'm okay. So
I'm doing quite well. For me, I think I'm actually above where I was last year already with a couple days left. My big thing this year is I would have probably another 10 or 15 movies on what I am right now, but I had about a 9 or 10 day stretch where I only got to watch like 2 or 3 movies because I just had so much stuff going on. And then like this past weekend, I was gone almost the whole weekend, you know, with various stuff. A friend of mine got married. I had some stuff to do, some family stuff to do with my dad. So my whole week.
Do you get resentful when shit comes up? Because there have been times this month where they're like, my family's like, hey, we should get together for dinner. I'm like, fuck you, I gotta watch horror movies. You know, what are you talking about?
Friday night, I had actually planned on like, all right, it was an early up for me at work because I had to go help my mom do some stuff. And, so I got out of work like an hour and a half early, and I'm like, all right, cool. I get home, you know, I can help my mom get everything done that I need to. I'm going to have like 6 or 7 hours to myself. I'm going to bang out 3 or 4 movies. I never got home until like 7 o'clock. So by then, I'm just like, yeah, whatever. And I didn't even end up watching anything Friday because it was, and then like I said, Saturday I was gone. I wouldn't have got any movies in at all this weekend, really. if it hadn't have been for getting up so early Sunday and catching those 2 Friday the 13th. And then last night I was just like, I really want to watch something, but I don't have a lot of time, and I want to watch the Red Sox game. Shout out to the world champion 2018 Red Sox, and there goes my entire listenership.
Oh, no. Yeah, right. I agree. I like this last Sunday, I was like, all right, I'm going to get a bunch of horror movies watched, but I got to watch the Browns game. And
I get up. That's the thing. Like, I get up so early. Like, I'm up most mornings by like 4:30 because I have to be for my day job. And so even on the weekends, even if I'm up till like midnight or 1 o'clock on the weekends, I'm generally up by 5:30, 6 o'clock, whether I go.
Yeah, there's no resetting that clock. No I'm up all the time too.
That's been my schedule, for like 16, 17 years, it's like, so I'll get up early, like on a Sunday or something. I got nothing to do. It's like, all right, well, there's a football game at 1 or 4 o'clock. That means I can get in like 3 or 4 movies today because the weather has been so shitty here in Maine for like the last 2 weeks. We've already had 3 or 4 snowstorms here. We usually don't get snow till like the middle of November. And we're already on like our 3rd or 4th storm. It's rained almost every day. And the wind's been blowing like 70 miles an hour every day. It's just been really weird fall. So even stuff I like to do or stuff that I need to do around my house, I can't because the weather has sucked. So it's been good in that regards where, like, when weekends have come up, there's a lot of weekends. I pounded out 4 or 5 movies in a day, and I never do that. But it's all shorter stuff, too, so.
Me too. I've been getting a lot of it done on the weekend. Our weather here in Ohio has been not equally. It's been shitty, but it's mostly just been rain and cold. It's been don't go outside weather. It hasn't been snow yet where you got, that creates extra work.
And the weather here has been like one day it's like 20 something degrees. And the next day it's almost 60. It's just been really weird up and down weather.
Damn. I don't think we've got below 40.
It's been odd, It's Maine this time of year, usually, 30s and 40s is pretty much an average for this time of year. Like, in the evenings, during the day, you might hit high 40s, low 50s, but it's just, it's been an odd fall as far as the weather goes. So, yeah, it's just been an odd month for me. So it's like, when I've had time, I've just been slaying it, but then there's been, like, these gaps of 3 or 4 days where I don't get to watch anything, and it's like, man, I was like, I could have watched everything on my list if I wouldn't have had all this downtime,
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
And but that's all right, man. I've had a lot of fun this year. It's definitely been a fun year. I'm glad I've watched so much stuff I haven't seen because I found a lot of stuff I really liked. I've also found some crap.
Same here.
But for the most part, it's been more hit than miss.
Yeah, same here. Tune into the next episode because we're recording tomorrow night, and I am going to eviscerate a couple of movies. Oh my god, I cannot believe these things even exist. But we're getting on in time. I wanted to ask you one question because it's relative to the movie that I'm currently watching.
Okay.
And I know that, like myself, you grew up in a rural area, so hunting is a thing that exists in the world. And I'm not a hunter. I think you might be a little bit more than me. But I'm fine with hunting because I reap the spoils of it from my relatives.
Right.
Yeah. But how much do you notice dumbass weapon shit in movies?
All the time.
For example, the movie I'm currently watching. Now, this is a French movie, so I don't know what's going on in France. I don't know what kind of animals they're hunting in France.
French ones?
Well, I don't know. I don't know what kind of animal this weapon is for, but this woman is on a much deserved revenge tear, and she has picked up the weapon of a hunter, And they do this hunting trip every year, I guess.
I'm assuming you're watching the movie Revenge.
I'm watching the movie Revenge.
I've heard a lot of reviews about it. I haven't seen it yet, but I just from your description, I know what you're talking about.
I'm a little over halfway through it, but and so far it's awesome. You got to suspend disbelief because at a certain point it's a video game. I mean, this woman has already lost 137 gallons of blood, but she's fine. Anyway, the gun that she is picked up to seek revenge, it's like a 12 gauge with a scope that would go on like a
50 cal.
A 50 cal. What in the hell are you hunting with that weapon? In the desert, by the way. We're not in the woods.
Desert?
You're in the desert.
Sand Yetis? I don't know.
I wish I could screen cap the picture of TJ's face right now, because he's about to... His eye roll is so extra that he's about to pull something out of a socket.
I have no... In the desert, dude. Like, I don't know. I don't...
Sand people.
I didn't know there was a desert in France, so...
I didn't either! I don't know what's going on! I don't know where they are. It doesn't matter.
My history didn't ever really... Maybe it's just one of those stupid American things that I guess I never realized there was a desert in France, but I have no idea, dude. But very large lizards...
I don't know. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't just me, even though I'm not a hunter.
They're hunting graboids. They're in the desert.
Yes.
Michael Gross is going to come over the hill at any time now. That's going to be the surprise that you're waiting for. Is Burt Gummer is going to be there to rescue.
Hand in hand with Father McFeely.
Yes, with Father McFeely. Yeah, that is one thing though, dude. Like watching a lot of movies. Like I grew up around firearms, and from a very young age, I was taught how to handle them and how to do it safely. And you don't touch these unless there's an adult around and blah, blah, blah. If you ever get in this, that sort of thing. So like I was raised to shoot at a young age, and I still do. I love to target shoot with my buddies and stuff. And, but see, it's sometimes like what they use for guns, and like, it's like, dude, that's not even a thing. You couldn't hit anything from 50 feet, let alone like 200 yards. Or, if anybody's ever fired a pistol, dude, like when you see in a movie and every shot they're hitting somebody from like 180 yards. Like, dude, you couldn't hit a barn door from 10 feet away with that gun. So, like, gun stuff does drive me nuts sometimes.
I was going to say the same thing. The pistol stuff especially. Whenever they're pulling out that pistol and they're just like, okay, here we go. It's a 9mm Beretta. And it's like, bang. And I'm like, that guy is 200 feet away from you. Like, there's no... Like, that is pure blind luck.
Unless you're, like, watching, like, something like Quigley Down Under where he's using a 50 caliber sharps. Like, dude, that's, like, legit realistic to be able to do shots that long with that gun. That's what that was.
But you're talking about the rifle.
The rifle, yes.
Okay, well, that's believable. It's the pistol shit that I'm like, give me a break.
There's stuff like that that's kind of accurate, and then there's other stuff that's just like, dude, 10 feet away, you're not going to hit anything with that. It's just not going to happen. So, yes. So, no, I don't know what they're hunting. Sand squirrels. That's what it is, sand squirrels. Giant mutated sand squirrels.
Well, I'm going to finish the movie after we were done recording, so we'll see how close she gets. But if she, at any point, she gets on that scope with that gun and hits somebody from like way far away, I might be out. But so far, even though the ridiculous nature of this movie, I'm still in because it's kind of a video game movie. And
I have heard good things about it though. It's one of those ones like it's on Shudder right now, so I can watch it. Shudder actually has a pile of really good movies on it right now, and I have barely got to any of them. There's a movie on there called Bait that I have wanted to see for a long time. It's like an Australian shark movie where they get trapped inside, like a tsunami happens. Great white sharks get inside a supermarket, and they're trapped inside a flooded supermarket with great white sharks. That sounds amazing to me.
Up until this week, I would have said I'm up for any shark movie, but then I watched Shark and Saw Prison Massacre, And
Arkansas State Women's Penitentiary Park.
Jim Wynorski, you asshole. Stay tuned for the next episode of Movie Freaks for that review. Oh my god.
Yeah, so just to let everybody know, because we do gotta get wrapping this up. This episode will be dropping this week. There's not gonna be a review episode, and the only reason I'm not doing a review episode this week is because if I did 2 review episodes this week, next week's episode would be like 3 movies long. So I'm just going to combine them into one really long episode, and there are a few movies that I watched that I have reviewed on the show before, so the reviews are kind of not going to be full reviews. I'm just going to go down through the list and whatever, but expect an extra long review cast next week, and then I am going to be taking a 2-week hiatus just to kind of recharge the batteries and, just reboot. I've got some awesome guests lined up for after when I come back at the end of November. There will also be a special episode around Christmas time, I think, this year.
Well, I mean, you may be taking a hiatus from your show, but you're going to be on our show to wrap up Horrorthon.
I will be on the Movie Freaks here very soon, but as far as Average Joe's driving goes, I'm going to be taking a couple week break just to recharge the batteries a little bit, and I think this is going to be a biannual thing where I take like a week or 2 off every year. A couple times during the year, just because it's so overwhelming at times trying to keep up with the show and life stuff, and
there's nothing wrong with that. We do like 50 episodes a year. That's 2 weeks off.
And I think every time, this past summer was weird, and most of the missed time this summer wasn't intentional. It was because I was having internet issues and a lot of other different things, and that wasn't intentional time off. I'm actually planning on this way ahead of time, so I think every year, pretty much after Horrorthon, is a great time for me to take a week or 2 off and just kind of like recharge and reset and come back with a vengeance. And
yes.
I will be on the Movie Freaks next week. It would be there a couple weeks from now that the episode, or the 9th or something.
Yeah.
That the episode would actually air. Then, like I said, we're not going to give you the full details yet, but you'll get them when we come back, because we're still working things out about another Movie Freaks Average Joe's Driving Christmas crossover special, which is going to be a lot of fun, and I think you guys will be interested if we go the route we're talking about right now. So it should be very interesting. I'd like to thank Erik for being on the show kind of last minute. Anything you want to add before we wrap it up?
No, thanks for having me on. It's a lot of fun as always. We could talk friggin' movies for hours and hours and hours.
As I was telling Erik earlier, I stayed up to like 12:30 last night watching the Red Sox win the World Series, and then of course, me being an idiot, instead of going right to bed, I watched all the post-game stuff and
you just keep twisting that knife. Yeah. You're just like, take that, Cleveland fan, just twist.
17 world championships.
Oh my God.
Whatever it is in the last, or 12 something in the last 17 years. It's a lot. Our 2-year drought in New England of no championships has ended.
Hey, you guys are playing tonight, right? Who are you playing?
Buffalo.
Oh wow! Yeah, what's it like to get a bye every 3 times a year?
Well, it's kind of nice. Hey, we had a rough year. We lost 2 games this year.
Oh my holy hell!
So, hey, but on a good note, Cleveland's gonna have a new coach and offensive coordinator.
Thank God! It's only 2 years too late, but that's okay.
As soon as I saw that today, I was like, "Ooh, gotta send this to Erik because I'm sure he's doing a jig."
Oh,
and that's pretty much what he told me when he messaged me.
Just doing backflips. Finally, it's all right, dude. We got our quarterback. I think we got our quarterback for the first time in 20 years.
I've watched a few Browns games this year, and I've been impressed with him. I think as the team builds in around him a little bit and he gets some more confidence and a better offensive coordinator that actually works with his abilities instead of just doing whatever.
A fucking concept. Work within the abilities of your quarterback. Oh my God.
You guys can't have Josh McDaniels, though. He's going to take over as the Patriots coach when Bill leaves. But
we don't want him. We don't want him. We tried that shit twice. Forget that. No thanks.
Anyway, I'd like to thank my sponsors, the Maine Cannababes. As always, you can go to www.mainecannababes.com and check out all the awesome stuff they're doing. And by the way, I meant to mention this earlier because Eric saw this, but I got a new tattoo this past week, which is the first time I've got a new tattoo in a long time. For anybody that knows me, it's definitely me. I got a Be Kind Rewind sticker, basically for a tattoo on my leg. I'm pretty psyched. So shout out to Jay at Forecastle Tattoo. If you live in Maine and you want some awesome work done, go to look up Jay at Forecastle Tattoo on Facebook. Friend him. You can check out the Jack Torrance tattoo he just did. That's absolutely phenomenal. He's doing a Jason Voorhees one, a couple Michael Myers one, because he did some raffles and stuff. And so, yeah, Jay's an awesome guy, does some awesome work. And just remember, kids, opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one, and I will see you sexy animals on the flip side.
It's intermission. Rise and stretch time. Time to refresh yourself and visit our snack bar. Got a yen for hot popcorn? Your favorite soft drinks are sparkling cold. The juicy Frank's sizzling hot. There's delicious coffee, freshly brewed, and all kinds of ice cream and candy to tempt you. Showtime will be announced loud and clear to get you back to your car in time. So stretch your legs. Come to the snack bar now.
Thanks for listening to Average Joe's Drive-In. If you'd like to talk movies or contact the show, add our social media pages. You can add us on Facebook at Average Joe's Drive-In Podcast, on Twitter at TWJ Author, on Instagram at Thomas Washburn Jr. You can also hit up www.thomaswashburnjr.com for more information about the show and related links. If you'd like to support the show, you can buy TJ's books on Amazon. Just type in Thomas Washburn Jr. in the search. Books are available in Kindle and paperback formats. If you have Kindle Unlimited or Prime, you can read the books for free and money will be earned by the pages read. It doesn't cost you anything and it supports the show. Until next time, you've been listening to Average Joe's Drive-In.